Afternoon. So there was once a big tree in the garden, and he stood tall, and there was a giant apple tree, and on this apple tree there were hundreds and hundreds of apples. And in one apple, a seed cried out and yelled to the great tree and said, "Hey, one day I'm going to be a great tree just like you, and I'm going to produce apples and apples every season just like you. One day I'm going to be a great apple tree." And the apple tree said, "Well, right now, you consume the nutrition from me. You are attached to me. In order for you to be a great apple tree, you must one day leave me." And the seed said, "I can leave. I'm fine to leave. I will do that. And when I do, I will stay close to you so that I can see and I can know that I can be a great apple tree." And then the next day, a great wind came by and it blew hard on the tree. And then the great tree lurched out. And the apple went falling out far, far, far away from the apple tree. The seeds felt alone. You see, in every apple there was at least 4 seeds. And the other seeds start to blame the small seed and say, "Well, look what you have done. You've caused us to be separated from the great tree. Now that we're no longer there, how will we survive?" And the seed said that one day we can be our own. We can be our own apple tree. We don't have to be dependent upon the great tree. But even the seed was concerned. Because see, what the seed did not understand is that now it was up to the seed. So as the apple encasing around it started to deteriorate, as everything that was supporting the seed started to deteriorate, the seed started seeing the world for what it really is. It saw the scorching sun. It saw the riverbed. It saw the birds in the air, circling, waiting for a chance to get to the seed. And so when the seeds were all exposed, the seeds yelled out to the great apple tree, "Help us, save us, come get us, help us." And the great apple tree just came through on a whisper and said, "Dig into the earth, go into the blackness, the darkness, and you will take root and begin to grow." Well, the other seeds stood by and said, "No, we don't want to go into the darkness. We can't go into the void. If we go into the ground, we don't know what's there. We don't know what's in the ground. We don't know what's going to happen." And so one by one seed was consumed by the birds. Another seed was scorched by the sun and dried up and died. And then the one seed that had cried out in the very beginning dug into the earth and got deep into the darkness. But once it was there, it felt alone. It felt like, what's going to happen to me? How will I become a great tree? Because I don't know the process. I don't know the next step to take. So from the earth, it cried to the great tree. It cried to the roots of the great tree and said, "What am I supposed to do?" And the great tree just told it, "Just be the seed. Just be the seed." So the seed began to reach out into the earth and see the environment that it had and began to pull in nutrients from the ground. It began to sprout roots and it began to grow. And before too long, the head of the seed grew up and came out of the ground, and it perched itself up and started to be a plant, a small tree. And as it grew, it realized that the sun sometimes scorched and the wind sometimes blew. It understood that sometimes the water was scarce and it didn't have enough rain. But through it all, it kept going and kept persevering, because in its vision, it saw the great tree. In its vision, it saw itself one day being just as the great tree. And over the years of going through different seasons and going through different times, eventually the seed grew strong enough, it grew big enough that it started producing its own fruit. And as it produced its own fruit, and it looked to the great tree that came before it, and it said, "I now understand." And so when the seeds within its own tree started crying out that one day I'll be a great seed, one day I'll be a great tree, it knew when to release and when to hold on. You see, in your life, you'll scream out, "I want to be whatever it is you want to be." But as long as you're attached to the great tree, as long as you're attached to something that is providing everything for you, it is only a wish, a dream, an idea, something that you just contemplate and think about and wish that you were. But it's not until you're completely released and that you have to go into the world, that you have to go into the darkness, that you realize what you have to do to become the great tree, that you see that there are steps to get there. And yes, sometimes there will be others who will swoop down and try to take everything that you have, just as the birds did. And sometimes the environment that you're in, the sun will burn you. And sometimes you will find yourself in relationships that will hurt you, and that will make you feel like you're drying up. And there will be times where you feel that there is a lack, there is not enough water, there is not enough to provide for you. But if you just go into the darkness and you realize what you have around you is enough for you to become the great tree. It's enough for you to become an apple tree that produces its own fruit. But first, you have to go dig deep, deep within yourself. When the relationship is over, when the job is ended, when your kids go a different route, you still have to dig within yourself to say that I can still become a great tree. And the tree that you become will be the fruit that you produce. So if you want to know what kind of tree you are right now, look at the fruit that you're producing. And if you want to become a different tree, fling yourself off and go into the ground and pull from yourself. Pull from everything that is around you and begin to grow. And battle through the seasons. You will go through seasons. There will be ups, there will be downs. But the ups will always be greater than the down. And once the pendulum swings to a certain level, you can remain there. So today, determine where you are. Today, determine what you're going to be. And start being the great seed, being the seed, so that you can one day become the great tree. Y'all have a great day.